on the idea of how Obama should be a little bit more like Bush. And he makes a very good point. Let's check this out.
If not now, when? First of all, historically, presidents have to do it, have to make their hay in the first year or two. If he doesn't act boldly, I think he's probably going to lose the midterm elections. Then he'll have less Democratic support than he even has now. But the Republican Party is at its weakest point. If he can't shove some progressive legislation down their throats now, I don't know when it's going to happen. You know, I was saying that what he needs to do is get a little George Bush in him, personality-wise. Now, Bush, of course, as we all know, had horrible ideas about pretty much everything. But he was pretty good about when he wanted to get something to be done, he got it done. You know, nobody was looking to go to war in Iraq, which was, of course, a horrible idea. And yet he pushed that through. And I think Obama needs a little of that. A little of, I'm going to get this done. I don't care who's with me. I don't care who I'm going to upset. I don't care what kind of popularity I'm going to lose over this. But I'm going to push this through, and I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to do it in full measure. And I really haven't seen that from this president on the issues that matter the most, which I think are how to deal with the banks and Wall Street, energy legislation, and health care.
Again, I think Maher is 100% right. We've been saying it on the show all along. Look, you don't want to push bad ideas through, of course. He's not saying emulate Bush in that way. And he's not saying break the law like Bush did and ignore the other party, et cetera, et cetera. But he is saying, look, when you've got an idea that you believe in, that you were elected to push through, you've got to, at some point, have the balls to say, you know what? Okay, I tried bipartisanship. Now I'm done. Now we're going to get a public option in health care. And if you don't like it, stand in my way and see how that works out for you. Look, you can't do that all the time, okay? But do you have to do it some of the time? Absolutely. If you don't think you ever have to do that, then you don't know what leadership is about. And I'm afraid that Obama goes for bipartisanship on every issue too much. And why does he do that? It's politics. It makes him look like he's the center of the road and moderate, and then Americans generally love that. And they say, well, look, he seems pretty reasonable. It's good, smart politics. But at some point, you have to care about the policy enough to put your foot down and say, look, even if the other party doesn't like this, I believe in it strongly enough. And I was elected to make sure that I get this enacted into law. Dave Kohler.
Yeah, playing the role of JR here. That sounds great from a talk show host. No, that's just a jab. I didn't mean that. But the fact is, Bush, he pushed his thing through with a bunch of Democrats, a small number of Democrats, voting for it. The war and tax cuts and all these other things. The fact is, if Obama doesn't get some Republicans, you can't push the thing through. We have a system.
No, wrong. Okay, but it is a good question. It's a very good question. I mean, it's easy to say, like, oh, yeah, push it through, man, right? Okay, no. So how do you push it through? All right, first thing is, if you don't say this is non-negotiable, a public option, for example, in health care reform, then everybody's going to think that it's negotiable. And they're going to try to find 100 different ways to negotiate out of it, because that's the one thing that the current corporations hate. And they don't want to involve because they don't think they can compete with it, right? So that's step number one. Step number two is you go to your own Democrats and you say, hey, listen, you're either with us or against us on this. And if you're against us, well, then you're never going to see Barack Obama campaign in your district. That's being tough, okay? That's playing hardball. That's perfectly normal politics. Hey, and by the way, Mayor Landrieu in Louisiana, you know what? We were looking to protect you, but I guess since you're not with us on this, if Change Congress and other progressive groups are going to run ads in your district, we're going to step aside and let them have at it, basically. Now, look, this is how politics actually works. So that's how you pressure your own guys. Then when you come to the Republicans, you say, look, Susan Collins and Olympia Snowe in Maine. You know what? There's a couple of different ways we can handle this. One is, look, of course you're not going to vote with us, not only all the time, you're not going to vote with us most of the time. But there are certain deal breakers, and this is one of the deal breakers. So if you're not with us, we're going to mount the biggest challenge you've ever seen in your life, and we're coming to get you in Maine, because we think Maine is a Democratic state. Now, if you play ball, you know, because the Republicans do this, they just told Evan Bayh that they won't even run anybody against them in the next election. Why? Because Evan Bayh constantly plays ball with the Republicans. That's politics. A final point on how you push something through. You know what? You've done all of this. You've, twisted all the arms that you need to twist, and you're still at 58 votes, and you don't have the 60 you need for it to be filibuster-proof. You say, hey, you know what? This one's really important. We're going to put it through in reconciliation. That is a process that you can use in the Senate where you only need 50 votes. Now, has Bush done that before? Absolutely. Passed the largest tax cuts in history, which absolutely devastated our deficit and our national debt. And he didn't worry about it. He wasn't worried about Democrats filibuster. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do it through reconciliation. How do you like me now? Here, okay? Bang, it's done. That's how you push it through. You see what I'm saying, Dave?
Yeah, but Bush had the top delay and Bill Frist and the top few senators and congressmen with him. Obama doesn't have that. And now, you're going to want to change that, of course, we all do, but Harry Reid and Pelosi are not as with him as Bill Frist and Tom DeLay were.
All right, so final point on that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. Look, if Bush said, hey, we're going to do this, the Republicans would jump. And, you know, if he says jump, they say how hot, right? For the most part. Now, the Democrats, on the other hand, suck off the same teat of the corporations that the Republicans do. A little less. And yes, they're more progressive. And yes, there are policy differences. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't even be having this discussion about whether we're going to get the public option or not, right? But Obama has this problem that Bush didn't. So how do you deal with it? Well, again, you use political capital. And you say, like, remember when Bush said after the 2004 election, I got some political capital, and I intend to use it. He won with 51% of the vote. I mean, he won by a razor-thin margin. You know what kind of political capital he had? He had no political capital. He squeaked in. That is not when you have political capital. That's when you try to reach out to the other side because you don't have any, right? But that's not how Bush saw it. Bush saw it as, well, if I got 50.001, man, I'm king of the world. Now, Obama's sitting at a 65 to 70% approval rating, and he's like, should I use my political capital? Here's a little political capital. But use the political capital. What's the matter with you? I mean, you're a very popular guy, and that matters in politics. And when you say to Evan Bayh in Indiana or Ben Nelson in Nebraska, these guys who are, if not challenged, will go along with the corporations and kill any kind of real reform, when you say to them, hey, listen, you're either with the president or you're against the president. Believe me, that makes an enormous difference. And that also makes a difference if you threaten their financing, because that's the thing they care most about. That's why they're sucking off the corporations to begin with. If you say, hey, look, Barack Obama can come to Indiana and do some fundraising for you, you think that might help? Or he could decide to sit it out and never do a single minute of fundraising for you ever again. That's hardball, that's politics, that's using your political capital. And I haven't seen Obama doing it yet. So we'll see. Doesn't mean he can't, and we still have time. We're going to see over the next couple of weeks. But he's got to know when to say, I'm drawing a line here, and you cannot cross it.